So today we're going to take a look at what's going to happen if Portugal tries to form an empire in 2024. Now this video is going to be very unrealistic. All the events that are going to happen are purely fictional. But yeah, let's see what happens if Portugal tries to form an empire in the modern day. Let's see who they declare war on, how they expand, and all those other stuff. But yeah, before we get into this video, first of all, I want to mention that all major alliances like NATO, CSTO, the EU, or the UN, they do not exist in my videos. If they would exist, they would not let these countries to expand. Also, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. But yeah, without further ado, let's get right into the video. Portugal is not in the best position to form an empire, of course, because they don't have that many neighboring countries. I mean, they're only bordering Spain right here, who is a much stronger country. So yeah, for Portugal to form an empire, they're first gonna have to build a very formidable army. They're gonna have to work on their navy too, because they're gonna be using that in a lot of things. Okay, so the first thing that the Portuguese are gonna be doing is they're first of all gonna be militarizing their country. As always, they're coming up with military reforms. They're improving their navy, their army, they're importing weapons and stuff. And yeah, years are going by, and as they go by, the Portuguese military is getting better and better. They're spending a huge amount of money on their military just because they want to expand in the future, and it takes them a few decades to do all these things. And after all of these preparations and stuff, we can see that the Portuguese are now recruiting troops from all over the country. They're preparing for their first major invasion. And yeah, after all of these recruits and after working all their military for decades, we can see that the Portuguese are finally ready for their first invasion, which might be a little unexpected to you guys, because the first country that they're going to take out is not over here. Instead, what they're going to be doing is they're going to go good old colonization mode, because that is their only option right now. So yeah, for their first military campaign, we can see that the Portuguese are looking towards these South American countries, and they lay their eyes on Guyana, and thus we can see that the Portuguese have now declared war on Guyana. Now guys, I don't want to repeat this in every single one of my videos, but yeah, once again, my videos are meant to be unrealistic. They're just for fun, and they should not be taken seriously. So now let's get into the war. Now the Portuguese had been working significantly on their navy, because once again, as I said, they're going to be using that quite significantly. So yeah, we can see that the Portuguese navy has now arrived on the coast of Guyana, and unfortunately for Guyana, their capital city was right on the coast, and so we can see that the Portuguese make a naval landing in the north, and we can see that they're pushing down. Eventually, we can see that the Portuguese army was able to get to the capital city of Guyana. The Portuguese take the capital city with relative ease, as their military is way better than that of Guyana's. And so we can see that Guyana has now lost all of their coastline. These troops start pushing down, eventually securing all of these regions. But yeah, after all of this chaos, we can see that the remaining parts of Guyana just go ahead and surrender. And in a peace negotiation, we can see that all of the northern parts of Guyana were completely annexed. These southern parts are now a vassal state to the Portuguese Empire. So yeah, this military campaign was a huge success for the Portuguese Empire, as this was their first major step. And because of the victory in Guyana, after this invasion, the Portuguese are now feeling confident because they took Guyana with relative ease. And they feel so confident that now we can see that they want to take out a European country. And after a few more years of preparations, we can now see that the Portuguese are ready for their second military campaign, and for this one, they're going to be choosing a relatively weaker country, and that country is going to be Iceland. Yeah, I guess this was the easiest option right here. So now let's see. We can see that the Portuguese navy has arrived on the coast of Iceland. They make a naval landing right here, and they start to push around. These are the highly populated regions of Iceland, and the Portuguese have taken control of most of the important parts, which also included their capital city. And after losing pretty much everything, Iceland goes ahead and surrenders. And then we can see that Iceland got completely annexed by the Portuguese Empire, and this was another decisive victory for the Portuguese. And yeah, things are going great for the Portuguese. They're still not going to stop, as they have more and more plans for the future, more upcoming invasions and stuff. And yeah, after a few months of this invasion, we can see that the Portuguese want to do something else now. They want to secure their position in the Mediterranean Sea, because they may have some upcoming invasions planned out right here. And in order to secure their position in the Mediterranean, they won't have to take out major countries, but we can see that they declare war on Malta, who is a relatively weaker country. The Portuguese take Malta in a day. They're making a military base in Malta, but they do another thing right here. We can see that the Portuguese declare war on Cyprus. Once again, we can see that the Portuguese make a naval landing right here, and they were easily able to take out Cyprus. Later on, they annexed the entire country. And now with these two military bases in the Mediterranean Sea, their position has been secured, but as of right now, they don't plan to invade any country country right here. Instead, they're going to be doing something else. They want to have their own colony in Africa. And who do they want to invade in Africa to form colonies? Well, that is going to be Angola. You know, they have some history. And now let's see. We can see that the Portuguese make a naval landing in the north, and we can see that they start to push down, eventually taking the capital city of Angola. They make another naval landing down here, in which they take out other major cities. These troops now broaden the front lines, taking control of all of these regions. But we can see that the remaining parts of Angola just go ahead and surrender, as these were the more important parts. Angola gets completely annexed, another decisive victory for the Portuguese Empire. But now finally, after having all of these colonies and after working on their military for so long, the Portuguese are now preparing for a very major war, and that of course is going to be against Spain. But even as of right now, it's going to be very difficult to take out Spain on your own. So instead, what they're going to be doing is they're going to try to form a coalition against Spain. I mean, that's the only way they can win this war against Spain. So we can see that the Portuguese were able to convince some of these countries to form a coalition. And well, these coalition countries include the United Kingdom, France, as well as Morocco. And now things are not looking good for Spain, as they were really caught off guard. So yeah, we can see that the Portuguese troops are now pushing up in the north, securing all of the northern parts. And we can see that the Moroccans also start a push in the south, securing some of these southern regions. The French start their own push from Catalonia, and they eventually were able to take all of Catalonia. The Brits make their own naval landing in the north, and eventually we can see that the Portuguese were able to meet with the Brits, who then push around and take all of the northern coastline. The Moroccans also make their own push in the south, meeting up with the Portuguese down here. But yeah, now we can see that one major army is going towards the capital city of Madrid, and we can see that this army was able to get to Madrid, and because the Spanish were heavily outnumbered, we can see that they lost their capital city. The Moroccans also push up, and these troops were able to meet up with each other. But after all of this, the remaining parts of Spain just go ahead and surrender, and you might not be ready to see this peace negotiation. But yeah, okay, let's see. And yeah, this kind of happened. In a peace negotiation, we can see that all of these parts of Spain were taken by France, some bits of land in the south by Morocco. Britain got this island right here. Hope that's enough for you, Britain. And yeah, the remaining parts of Spain were completely annexed by Portugal, and this is like an Iberian Union but under Portugal. So yeah, things are going great for the Portuguese Empire. They're at their territorial peak. Their military is doing very good now. I don't know if they would be able to control all of these Spanish parts, but who cares? Since they were desperate to form an empire, none of that actually matters. They have one final country to invade right here, and this country had to be in the Mediterranean Sea because of course they want to further secure their position right here. And yeah, for that, we can see that the Portuguese now declare war on Tunisia, and things are not looking great for Tunisia for obvious reasons. So we can see that the Portuguese make a naval landing right here, and they push up, eventually taking the capital city of Tunisia. This army pushes down, taking all the vital cities until none are left. The remaining parts of Tunisia surrender, and once again we can see that all of the northern parts of Tunisia were completely annexed. The southern parts are now a vassal state to the Portuguese Empire. So yeah, this is the Portuguese Empire at its peak. But I want to show these designs to you guys. They were made by Rex, a great artist and a good friend. So yeah, thank you Rex for these designs. And this is going to be it for today's video. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, and tell me what you guys want to see in the future. And thank you for watching.